We are back with another episode of Boots, Balls and Bras in studio today with myself, Fara Williams, and the amazing Anita Asante. Neats, before we get into the weekend's fixtures, how have you been? What have you been up to? Anything exciting since we last spoke?
Yeah, I've been good. I was at the game this weekend, so I was at the Tottenham-Leicester game. Nice. So yeah, I was covering that, which was good fun. It was Baltic.
Was it fun?
No
shots from Tottenham and they won 1-0?
The game was probably, I wouldn't describe as fun, but the company was good, and I was freezing, to be honest. It was Baltic.
You looked it, I saw.
I could feel
my commentary was bang on though.
My arms and
always.
Bodies shaking, but otherwise it was good. How about you? What you been up to?
Do you know what? Not much, I don't think. I'm trying to think what I've been doing this week. I've been quite lazy this week, actually, since we last spoke. I did Match of the Day 2 yesterday.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I've had a free week. But I've got a busy weekend coming up, Anita. Busy weekend. And it's my birthday weekend next weekend.
That's your birthday?
And I'm working on my birthday and the day after and the day after that.
I was working on Beth's birthday, which was yesterday.
I saw that. Happy birthday, Beth, by the way. Yeah,
thank you so much for putting up with me and letting me go to work instead of celebrating with you. But
I'm sure you celebrated when you got home.
I will do, when I get back.
You've been in London. So Beth, she's coming home today. I'm sure there'll be a few surprises there. But nice. So is she Aquarius?
Or January, yeah.
Is she a Capricorn or Aquarius?
I'm not sure.
If you're an Aquarius, you're a good person. A Capricorn, you're not so. Because my brother's a
Capricorn. Yeah, she's Cap.
Oh, yeah, you're on my brother's side.
Yeah.
So, he's a Capricorn. I'm Aquarius. But, I've got a busy weekend coming up, but can't complain.
No, we can't complain.
I know you was at the Leicester game, and I did watch it just because you were on. And I love to watch your analysis. But there was bigger games than that. And I think that the biggest game of the weekend was the Manchester derby at the Etihad Stadium. So Man City were at home to Man United. And I don't think any of us would have predicted the scoreline. Manchester United beating Manchester City 4-2. Ella Toone, I mean, we have to speak about her. Hat-trick for Ella Toone. Yeah. She's been, I think it was maybe a couple of months she's been out with injury. I actually thought, I don't know what you thought of her performance. For me, she looked re-energised. I feel like that, although sometimes you don't like to get injured, and it's horrible to miss games, and obviously Ella being a Man United fan won't have wanted to miss games for them, but I felt like she'd come back. She just looked refreshed. She looked so good. And obviously the first player to score a hat-trick in a Manchester derby at the Etihad must have felt nice for her.
Incredible. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch. I think that whole game, I was just like, hands on head, like shock mode, everything was happening. But I think credit to Ella Toone. I think she seemed reinvigorated. She seemed hungry. There was a lot of self-belief and confidence. And again, a player that shows up, as we've discussed, in big moments. She's a big game player, and she was definitely up for it. And she seemed just really motivated. And Man United are really, I think, are obviously thankful for her return, because they know the quality that she can deliver as well.
Definitely. And you know what? I mean, we have to probably take a little bit back, because I think going into the season, given the season Man United had last year, we probably didn't think they would be achieving and probably getting the results that they have been this season, and probably not in the position they are. And look, they're level points with Arsenal, 7 points off Chelsea, top of the league. I mean, what do you think a win like that does for United against their rival City when they're competing for that Champions League stroke WSL title?
Yeah, a win like that is massive for them, especially away from home, against a Man City team that have time and time again been the ones in the title race with the likes of Chelsea. I think it will give them that extra sense of belief that they can go on and compete with all those teams in and around them, that they can suffer without the ball, because they also did that a lot during that game, but they still looked like they were in control. And having that, I think that they look like a team that's united, that is actually unified, and play as a team. And having that strong spine, you can really see that that's paying off for them. I think the goalkeeper is really, is excellent. You can tell she's a really good communicator. Janssen in there as well, lots of experience. And I just think it's all starting to sing for them as a team. So I think, I was critical at the start of the season, as we said, and, was kind of like, there's no way. I'm not sure they can do it. But I'm always happy to be proven wrong, because I love football and I want these teams. We want to see competitive games. We want these teams to push each other, because they'll also just keep driving the levels, and credit to them. They've put themselves in the conversation again.
They definitely have. And you mentioned it there, United. And I think there was a lot of talk, and maybe outside talk as opposed to maybe internal talk, about the team not being together, lots of disruption. And they let a lot of people go in the summer, and there was question marks as to why they let them go. You know, I'm saying club legends or players that have played for the club for a long time. And there was loads of question marks about whether they were a together team. But I think you've hit the nail on the head. I actually think they do look like that team that want to fight for each other. And I think we saw that in that game yesterday. But I think what we have to talk about is the way they tactically approach the game. I think that high press against the Man City backline, I mean, we saw a couple of the goals coming from that, Khiara Keating, you know, with a couple of errors from that high press. What did you make of that high press from them?
I was happy to see it, you know, because I think we know that this is a Man United team. On paper, they have very good players. You know, they can execute a game plan like that. They went player for player all around the pitch in those build-up moments for Man City. And I think with a team like that like to have the ball, you have to make it uncomfortable for them, you know, and they did that well. They did it coordinated. They forced the errors, in actual fact, and not just forced the errors, but were ruthless in retrieving the ball and actually punishing them for their mistakes. And that's what you've got to do against a good team, you know, on their day, like Man City. But, you know, equally, I think Man City played into their hands a lot of the time because, you know, it's hard to play under that kind of stress and pressure. And when you make one or two mistakes, that's when you maybe have to start changing and adapting your game. And Man City just didn't do that early enough, I don't think. And you know, credit to Man United because they have the quality to do that. And I'd like to see them do that more often.
Yeah. And you know what I've noticed with this Man United team this year? They're probably, I mean, Chelsea like to adapt, but they're probably one of the most adaptable teams in terms of how they play. They don't mind going direct. They'll play out when they feel that they can. They haven't really risked the ball in silly moments in games this year. I think that's something that has certainly caught my eye. You know, certainly we talk about the goalkeeper. You know, she doesn't feel it's necessary to play out, and she feels her team's, you know, a little bit under pressure. She doesn't mind going long. And we spoke about this Man City team before in terms of how they set up. They're very rigid in a philosophy and a style of play. Yeah. Do you think that went and played against them yesterday in terms of this high press they couldn't play through? They obviously, I think it was the fourth goal, the one just after half time when they played straight into the midfield, it got pinched and Toone gets a hat trick. Do you think these players are adaptable or need to be more adaptable or maybe take the responsibility to be? Because it's quite difficult when you're playing a team that has game plans or a structured style of play. Sometimes you're waiting for that one player to be like, girls, let's change this. Let's go a bit long. We're under a little bit of pressure. Yeah. We're 3-0 down, for example. We've just got ourselves back in because they've got themselves back into the game 3-2. They go into the half and they're probably, Gareth Taylor, he must have been absolutely buzzing. They're 3-0 down. They get themselves back 3-2 and they go in at the half and he must have been thinking, we're in the game. Yeah. And then they come out minutes into the second half and they play straight into a press and go 4-2 down. That was the game changer for me because Man United went on and cruised from there. It's like, okay, we've kind of killed the game now. Yeah. 4-2. Do you think if the manager's not changing, do you think there needs to be leaders that can adapt that? Yeah,
I think it's multifaceted because, you know, we credit Man City for the way they play because their identity and their philosophy is so clear and they play with such quality normally and a style in which is pleasing to the eye most of the time. And you think about they managed to score 2 goals playing the way they play. Yeah. So in one sense, you can't be critical about that because that works for them. But on the flip side of that, it's some of the details is what let them down at times. So I think they were playing under a high press and sometimes they will play under that. And, you know, the detail of the pass on what foot and under that pressure is what cost them. So you could almost argue if they had actually executed some of those details better, would they have had the same effect? But then equally, it's about the multitude of mistakes because of not executing those details. So then you need leaders on the team, I think, to recognize maybe it's just not my day, right? I'm not doing the things that I normally do well and I'm not making as good a decision. So we've got to bypass it. But, you know, it's difficult because at times they were playing long, trying to find Miedema. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily Miedema's strength because she doesn't do what Shaw does because they offer different things. So that straight ball sometimes was frustrating me because they were playing a straight ball trying to go beyond at times into Miedema. And I was like, it's coming straight back, So I think it's a case of you can play beyond the press, but you still got to do it with quality, and you still got to do it in areas that don't put the ball at risk. So maybe they could have still gone beyond, but not so central. Challenging those wider areas.
I agree. Personnel, I think that's one thing we've seen a little bit different with Manchester City. We know they like to pass through the lines. When they have Bunny Shaw, at times they have played direct into her and worked off of her. But you're right, personnel will change that. I mean, was it a question I want to ask, because Man City don't often face a high press, so they rarely come up against a team that are prepared to run them down, make them, force them into making errors. You've got Khiara Keating in goal, and we've given her loads of praise. Would you put yesterday's game down to a one-off game, it wasn't her day? Or do you think it's something that she needs to learn through these experiences of, when you can play and when you can't play? And do you think that with more games, or as she grows as a goalkeeper, she will see those pictures more? Because at times she played a team under pressure. Or do you think the absence of Alex Greenwood, who is that leader and composed in possession, played a part in maybe her decision-making?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, she's a young goalkeeper, but an extremely talented one, goalkeeper of the year last season. So it could just be a moment for her as well, where she underperformed by her own standards because of the qualities that she has as well. And it's a case of she will gain more experience. She will learn more probably from this experience than when she's doing well and on top. But equally, there are players around her that are also very senior that could, I think, help her a little bit more. So
I've heard that before, though, Needs, in terms of their philosophy. Yeah. Because I remember questioning sometimes Manchester City last year, and we go back to the Arsenal game against Man City when Khiara was really high and come out for, she was that extra defender for them in a high line, for example. And some of the decisions, I was like, whoa, that's really risky. Let defenders defend first. And do you think she's comfortable enough to make her own decisions within that game plan in terms of not playing under pressure when she don't feel like the pass is on, to do something different? Or do you think that will come the more she plays and kind of gains that experience? Because we know Manchester City have a style, and if she's being told to play those type of passes that we know Manchester City normally get away with playing, is it drilled into her that she must play them? Or do you think over time she'll be like, actually, I've gained this experience, I can read the game a lot better, and I can read presses, etc. I'm going to make my own decision based around what is presented in front of me? Yeah,
I think as time goes on, with the more experience and exposure to that level of high pressure as well, playing against teams that do that, she will make better decisions. She will learn from those experiences, what kind of things she can do, what options she could find. And maybe slow down her own thought processes, because there are other options to play in those situations. But sometimes when you're under that kind of stress, your mind becomes stressed, and then you start making those poor decisions. So it's a little bit of that as well. And I think this will be tough, of course. I think it will be hard for her to reflect upon that game and maybe watch some of those things back. But it's only going to make her a better goalkeeper, because we know how good she can be when she is. And I think it's hard when you're not exposed to that as well, in the way they play, maybe in their training environment and in general, then it is hard to make certain decisions because you just don't face it as often. So you're like, well, this is what we always do. I expect my players to come inside and get a central pass. I trust them to do it. So in one instance, you're like, fair play, like it's good that they trust each other to play with that kind of risk. But when that risk is not rewarding you and it's punishing you, you've got to be savvier. You've got to make, more ruthless decisions and go, and then take the rollicking, off your centre back or your full back. If you play beyond and you go long and you smash it into Rosette, whatever it is, you can deal with it after, as long as it doesn't end up in the back of your net.
For sure. I think the hardest thing will be, we know that they've been rotating goalkeepers at Manchester City. To rotate off the back of this, it'll be a sucker punch for Khiara Keating. So
and just to jump in there,
don't just happen.
And just to say again, Man United have had a consistent back five essentially. That's why they have the best.
That's why they went on record. That run when they finished second. Yeah, that back four that never changed, and the goal obviously 5, Mary Earps, and he never changed it, and it was so consistent that year. They pushed Chelsea for the title.
And you can see that again, I think is paying them dividends. But for Man City, because of the injuries, I think it is affecting them a little bit. It's tough when you've not got Alex Greenwood, who arguably is the best centre-back in the league in terms of a ball possession. then part of your game is gone. Naka's come in, her very first game, an intense derby.
And she looked a little bit lost.
Exactly.
It wasn't the intensity that she probably needed to be eased into a game before she goes into a Manchester derby like that, because I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
She looked very uneasy at times.
Yeah, 100%.
And we already know, I mean, we spoke last week in the transfer about Kennedy potentially, being on her way. Alex Greenwood being out of injury. So they don't really have that much backup centre halves at the minute. No. She will have not enjoyed her first Manchester derby, that's for sure.
She got a goal, which is nice, but
her actual performance in terms of, at times, she's gone wandering into midfield areas to try and press and left themselves exposed. I felt, Manchester City play a certain way.
Well, that's a different welcome and wake up to the WSL, I think. That that's the level and that's the intensity.
It's true. Yeah, you mentioned injuries. Obviously, we know Alex Greenwood, I think it was an MCL they said, so that's a bit of a longer term. They've got Bunny Shaw out with injury. Again, we know when Bunny's in the team, the difference that makes. And then obviously Lauren Hemp. So they've got 3 big injuries. Plus, we have to mention Chloe Kelly was not a part of the Manchester City squad yesterday.
Yeah.
Was left out. They said an ankle injury that she picked up in training the day before. But there was also rumours that potentially she was going to go on loan to Manchester United, so the rival club, until the end of the season. How true do you see them rumours being?
I mean, I'm one to say I want no smoke without fire sort of thing. But, I don't know. I think there's definitely something going on, because we've talked about Chloe Kelly not featuring or being available for a while now, or not being in favour at Man City. She may well have this injury. She may well also be looking to pastures new. She needs to be playing football. She wants to be in the England team for the Euros, and she wants to put herself in contention. And if that's not happening at City, then she, has to consider her options. Yeah. So, I definitely think that maybe there was a case of not having her available in this particular game, if that is where she's rumoured to be headed, for obvious reasons. But as a player, we've been players, if you go into that mindset, you want to play and you need to go. And you need to go somewhere where you're going to play.
When you look to the City bench compared to the Man United bench, they just look so light. And if I'm just going to take it that Chloe Kelly was injured. But if you do have a player that's fit, whether she's going on loan or not, to the team that you're going to play against, you have her in your squad.
Absolutely.
Because I looked at the bench and I was like, well, how are you going to change this game? What have you got? What impact players have you got on your bench to bring on to actually change this game and impact it? And they didn't have that Manchester City. If you look at the United bench, they had a lot more on the bench to make an impact. They brought Rachel Williams on. Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're 4-2 down and then you bring Rachel Williams on. It's like...
making ridiculous tackles in her own box, by the way.
Exactly. And it's like, for me, that was it. If she wasn't injured, it was a crazy decision to leave her out.
Yeah, it was a game, in my opinion, that was crying out for a player with her attributes, right? She's dynamic. She's a winger that's always positive and wanting to dribble and commit defenders. Yeah. You're chasing a game. So you need impact players.
100%.
So if she was available, then, a lot of question marks, I think, are going to be pointed around that. But clearly, if she was injured, then, she obviously couldn't play. But... time will tell, I guess, where she's headed.
Will. And we're talking a little bit later about where we see City maybe ending up at the end of the year. But guys, we just spoke about Toone. We probably should have spoke about her a little bit more, given her performance yesterday in the Manchester derby. But she's got a podcast coming out with Rio Ferdinand. Listen, I've listened to a little bit of it. Guys, it is one that you don't want to miss. So I think it's due out this week. So make sure you tune into that one, because it's an in-depth interview with Toone and some of the stuff that's happened in recent times. So definitely, women's football fans, men football fans, Man United fans, you've got to tune into this one, because it's unbelievable. As I said, I've listened to some of it, and it's an eye-opener for me. So Ella, it was a beautiful listen. Well done. I'm glad you're back playing to the levels that we know you can. You've been through a tough time lately, but what a podcast that is. But let's move on, because Renee Slegers last week got the permanent Arsenal job. We were saying it, why not give it her? She's gone unbeaten, 11 games unbeaten in this Arsenal team, and we had to wait.
Amazing.
And we waited and they finally sealed the deal. I think it's amazing that they've gone ahead and done that. I think in terms of Arsenal players looking settled under Renee Slegers, in terms of what she's done with them, that kind of transition. She hasn't transitioned too much in terms of the players, but what she has done is made the players look as if they enjoy playing again. And I think that's a huge part. And probably manage the players a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think when you manage players better, I think you get a better response. She looks as if she's done that. We look at it, she's gone 11 unbeaten. The only draw she's had in that was against Manchester United, and that was in WSL. That was only a couple of weeks into her temporary managerial. And then I think the biggest test she had was against at home to Bayern Munich. And she overcome that 3-2. Her biggest test in the WSL, I would suggest, not just because I'm a Chelsea fan, guys, but is the weekend. They're away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Now, this will be a test in terms of, are they real title contenders under Renee Slegers? Are they not?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that is her biggest challenge yet? Well, certainly as a permanent.
Yeah.
but as somebody that's taken charge now, it'll be a 12th game in charge of Arsenal.
Yeah, biggest challenge for sure. Especially now she is the head coach of Arsenal Football Club. She's, exactly. She's at the wheel, and all eyes, all the scrutiny is firmly on her and her team. Going away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea who are in flying form as well, scoring a nominal amount of goals as well. I think both teams are in great form, got a lot of momentum behind themselves, and by far it's the biggest test. You're going against the title winners of last season, who are not going to let go of that easily. So it also is a game, I think, that's poised to hopefully be not only a good contest, but it's just going to bring the levels even higher.
I'm so excited for this one at Stamford Bridge as well.
With that atmosphere, I think.
I mean,
with both fans as well.
Come out. Let's hope Arsenal travelling fans send a lot, and let's hope Chelsea fans actually come out and travel to Stamford Bridge and support the girls. But I'm really looking forward to that one. But Arsenal come off the back of a 5-0 win against Crystal Palace. So, and both teams, I think, Chelsea beat West Ham 5-0 and Arsenal. So they're both coming off the back of big 5-0 wins at the weekend. In terms of going into this, obviously we have a big winter break. So, you come back in, they've only had 2 games. It was a cup game. They cruise through them. Both teams cruise through them. And then they've had, they're playing, both of them played against teams that are fighting relegation a little bit. So they haven't really had that kind of level of test yet.
Yeah.
And then they go head to head. We know when you have them opening games, they can go either way. So do you think form in terms of both of them, because they're both coming into this in great form, do you think that plays a part in this weekend, given the fact there's been a 3-4 week break in between those games?
Well, I always think winning football matches, whatever the level, is all about helping maintain or create team morale.
Mm-hmm.
So that team morale is going to be good in both camps. The players are going to feel up for it. They're going to feel buzzy at training. They're going to look to this game ahead as the big game. So there's going to be extra focus and attention. But on the day, it kind of goes away for me, because now like the stakes are very high, and there's more pressure, there's more expectation, and you've got to deliver and execute. In the other games, obviously you have to come and bring your quality and you have to execute things well. But when they're on top, 5-0 wins, it's like people start doing things aren't even part of the game plan. Exactly. People want to score goals, they're going to send numbers forward, and this game is going to feel more controlled. It's going to feel like both teams are working each other out tactically. They're trying to find out, individually, are they on top of their opposing number, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be edgy. I think there's going to be, that kind of intensity. There's tackles going in. The crowd's going to help that as well. And then it's going to take magic and moments of quality, I think, to sort of, exploit each other. So I'm really up for this game. I think it's going to be,
I'm just one of those needs. When I look at the both squads, trying to pick the starting 11 from both teams to face each other, I'm like, who do they go with? What are they? Are they going to be front-footed? Are Chelsea going to be defensive? Are they going to be aggressive? Are Arsenal going to be a bit reserved? Are they going to be front-footed? It's like one of the, where do we see the matchups? Like, where's the matchups? Like, you look at what Ramirez did to this Arsenal backline, Lee Williamson and Lotte Wubben-Moy, back at the Emirates last year. So I think it was October time, wasn't it? And you saw how she aggressively destroyed them.
Yeah. So
she used her physicality and it worked in favour for Chelsea in that game in particular. Do you see that happening again? Do you see Chelsea going with them similar tactics? Look, we've got Ramirez, who we know physically can strength these centre-halves? Do they go that way again? Do they look something different? Do Arsenal prepare for that, thinking that might happen?
Yeah, I think that Chelsea are so versatile that, they have so many options at their disposal. I think, they equally could use Ramirez as that number 9 to occupy the centre-backs, knowing that she has those attributes to try and, wrestle those defenders and pull them into areas that draw attention actually away from herself and give more space and time to the likes of Guru Wrighton or Ritin Kanarid in those wing areas to have the, impact and exploit space. So potentially, but you just never know. I couldn't really tell you, because I feel like every player that comes on in this Chelsea team offers something that allows them to get the upper hand sometimes on their opposition. I saw the goal from Macario, unbelievable goal. I watched it the other night and I was like, whoa.
She's been in
and out. And she doesn't need 90 minutes. Yeah. She literally needs like 2 minutes, and she's a game changer. Aggie Beaver-Jones can come on and do a...
LJ was absent though.
LJ was absent, so I wonder if she'll be available for this game. Yeah. Hopefully, we all want to see her back on the pitch. But
they've got so many options.
I'm sure they were managing minutes too, so we'll see.
Maybe you're right. You know what? I hope we watched the Man City Chelsea game, and that's probably my favourite game that I've watched in terms of tactics.
Yeah,
I've never seen Chelsea execute a game plan so well as they did in that game, in terms of their press, in terms of those connections and being on the same page. I'd love to see a Chelsea team come out and kind of put it on Arsenal like that. And likewise, I'd like to see Arsenal be front-footed against a Chelsea team. Don't start on the back foot and just go toe-to-toe. I'd love to see this game at the weekend. Both managers, both female managers, which makes it even nicer, really go toe-to-toe. It's hyped up, this game. It's a game that everybody's going to hype up. And I hope both tactics live up to the hype and expectation of the game. But do you think if Chelsea are to win this game, hypothetically, that Arsenal, City, United are out of the title race?
I think...
I know it's early, but...
I think it's still early.
Into February soon.
It's still early, but I think that... I wouldn't say they're out of it, but I think that Chelsea are firmly in control. I think that Chelsea will feel like, from a psychological standpoint, we've beaten this team. That would have been the double. It would be the double. The double over the team that are right behind us, and Man City are way off it. They'll be looking at that thinking, maybe not. Man United might be the only ones that I think are like kind of silent.
Flip it then.
Silent assassins, that are just creeping up the table.
If Arsenal win it, do you think Arsenal think they're in the title race and can win it?
I think they will believe that. I think they will believe that because in a way they've surpassed all expectations. Under Renee in particular. I think everyone's a thought, well, what can Arsenal do this season? Like, are they even in a comfortable, secure environment? They didn't know who the head manager was up until this point. They've gone on to beat teams like Bayern Munich. I think they'll feel...
That was a big win
I think they will feel a level of, guys, this is for us to sort of establish that we can do it, basically. Why wouldn't you? I feel if I was in their position, I would think that. I would feel like...
Well, they'd only be 4 points off, wouldn't they? If they won that
we're
game
4 points off. We've definitely got a chance. And now it's up to us to make sure that we do what we need to do in terms of the fixtures.
Do you reckon then, if, for example, it was something that they spoke about, Renee Slegers and the team, they speak about, look, we win this game, we can close the gap, 4 points. Do you think Renee would want to have those conversations going into the game, or do you think that adds extra pressure on those players? Do you think it's do you think you have those honest conversations? Look, girls, if we're going to be real title challengers, we have to go and win this. This puts us within touching distance of this Chelsea team. Or do you think they avoid those conversations to take the pressure off a little bit?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like
put yourself in the player's shoes.
Just from the outside looking in.
Would you want to hear those things, or was you the type of player that like to know the fact? Look, because we're aware of them.
Yeah.
We look at the table, right? We look at the table, go, how can we close the gap? I remember when I was in a title challenge at Liverpool, and every week, I think it was, who was we challenging? It was Birmingham and Bristol was at the time, the teams. And I think Bristol were getting battered away from home, like 3-0 to Doncaster or someone like that. And I'm like, we've won the league. Like, it was only a couple of games before the end of the season. I'm like, they come back and win the game. And I'm like, damn, another week until we can kind of win the title. So we certainly check the table. We know the pressure's on, but I'm saying the calibre and the level of players, all international players, both at Arsenal and Chelsea, do you think they'd like to go into that game knowing the pressure's on because they really need to win the game? It's a must-win for Arsenal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Chelsea probably could get away. If they lost, they're still 4 points ahead and still know that
no, for sure.
If that makes sense.
I feel like I can imagine Renee Slegers approaching this game by trying to take the pressure out of it.
Okay.
I don't imagine her to really amplify that message. I think she will feel the players know what's at stake, and probably want them to approach this like any other game.
Yeah.
And maybe she will address it in the context of, how can you not believe in yourselves, guys? Look at the journey we've been on. Look at the teams we have beaten.
Have you been flying a wall?
No, but maybe that's the approach I would take. But I think as a player, you know what's at stake, and you don't need it to be the elephant in the room. Of course, I think a manager can talk about it because they're professionals at the end of the day. They've played in loads of big games in their careers. Yeah. This isn't the first, and this won't be the last. But ultimately, she'll be boosting their egos, boosting their confidence, and saying, just look around you, look who you've done this with, look what teams you've beaten, and go out and just show that you can do the same thing. It's another football match,
it's true. And a difficult one to pick. I think if I take my biased Chelsea cap off, I think it's a real difficult one going into it with the momentum both teams have. Yeah. I think Leah Williamson will be. What do you think
Sonia will be saying to her team?
Yeah, I'll come back to her because I think Leah, she scored at the weekend. Yeah. 679 days was her last WSL game. So, goal. So she'll be pleased going into this.
Oh, definitely,
having got that goal at the weekend. I think for Sonia, I think the fact that they beat Arsenal away at the Emirates, I think she'll take a lot of confidence from that. I think the fact that slowly her team are playing in the style that she wants. She obviously played them quite early in her managerial career at Arsenal. At Chelsea, but it was quite early that they played Arsenal. I think she'll be happy with where her team's at. I think the fact that the injuries, we started to see Lauren James come back. I think Sam Kerr's close to returning. Yeah. I think Erin Cuthbert is back to the levels. We saw a goal again at the weekend. Macario, who's been in and out with injuries, is back. So I think Charles is back.
Yeah, Charles is back. Yeah.
So they're slowly getting back to a team, a
complete squad.
Yeah. Right? That can compete, and she can adapt and change. And if someone's having an off day, we can bring somebody in that ups the levels even more. So I think they'll be going in with a lot of confidence. I would say the fact that they're at home, but they're at Stamford Bridge, it's a different environment. We know at Kings Meadow, it's when teams go there, they find it very difficult. But I think it's an even game, but I do think that Chelsea just edge a little bit.
Plus, they had Sockgate last time, didn't they?
Oh my days, they did, didn't they? Yeah,
hopefully
they do. Okay, I think Chelsea edge it a little bit, but I do think I imagine it to be a highly competitive game, and I think that they will know. I think Sonia will know that Chelsea will have to suffer without the ball for a period. I think they want to start the game fast.
Yeah,
I think it's important that they start the game fast, like they did it against Manchester City, and kind of take a grip of the game. I think it will be key what player she plays. I think we saw Hermano, who started in that Manchester City game, and some of us kind of like, really is that your strongest midfield? But actually, she set the tone in terms of the press, in terms of the energy she had in there, and then that little bit of quality in the transition, she was able to get close to Amira. So I think the starting 11 will be an indication of the approach Chelsea are going to take for sure.
Yeah.
I think when you see the personnel, the 11 that she puts out, that will be an indication as to whether they're going to play possession, whether they're going to play high intensity, whether they're going to play transition, whether they're going to be more direct. So I think, I'm looking forward to seeing that 11, and I'll have a better opinion in terms of how I think they were going to approach the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
When you see their personnel, I think, depending on what personnel plays, they have a certain way that they're going to approach the game with that personnel in.
100%.
Whereas with Arsenal, I think they play the same way pretty much all the time. You never really see them play any different. In terms of playing out from the back, it's pretty much the same. Sometimes they play with better intensity, but in terms of the style, it remains the same.
That's true.
So I think for them, it's just their personnel. It doesn't matter who's in, the style don't really change. But Chelsea's does, and I think it's important when we see that 11 you kind of have a better indication of what they might do.
No, definitely. No, I'm excited. Is there any particular matchups that you're really excited to see if it happens?
I'd like to see, I mean, we don't know who will play centre half, but I'd like to see Leah have a more physical game against Ramirez.
Yeah.
If it's Ramirez that plays. I mean, Katie McCabe up against Canada. That one's an exciting one.
Yeah.
And obviously Lucy Bonds is down that side as well. So that match up, and they'll have Caitlin Ford in front, I would imagine, of Katie McCabe. So I think that left-hand side for Arsenal and the right-hand side for Chelsea is one that I'm excited by. And as I said, I think, Leah might have looked at her performance, and Lotto, if it's her that plays, I think she's injured still, isn't she? Would look at that performance and go, I don't want another performance like that. And we might see a more aggressive, which we know Leah has within her.
Yeah.
And if we think about it, she wasn't long returning from kind of that injury and didn't have a good run of game. So for her, she'll probably want to redeem herself and be like, look, I can handle strikers like you. So I'm looking forward to that. But where do I think the game will be won and lost?
Yeah.
Is the question. It's like, I think it will come down. I don't think there's an area of the pitch where I think, if the midfield get control of it, they'll win it there. I actually think it comes down to the game plan and who executes it. And I think...
And who makes the least mistakes, right?
Exactly. And I think that depending on the game plan, are Chelsea going to force Arsenal into making mistakes and win in those transition moments? I think that's a good approach for Chelsea to take.
Uh-huh.
Is it similar for Arsenal against Chelsea? Maybe not, because Chelsea don't tend to build as often from the back. They're quite comfortable going direct and working off that. So it'll be an interesting one for sure.
No, I can't wait. Buzzing.
So that one. So that kind of rounds up the weekend's talk, and looking forward to Chelsea and Arsenal. We do need to have a few fans' questions, which I know you love. So let me just scroll into my fans' questions. In fact, we have a quick fire for the weekend. We like to do that one. Should we do that before?
Yeah, let's do the quick fire. Let's do our quick fire
because we like to try and get a betting sponsor. We haven't got one yet, guys. So we're trying to get our accumulators back.
Oof.
So any betting companies that tunes into our podcast, if you want to sponsor us, we'd much appreciate it. So this is our accumulator for the weekend. Aston Villa at home to Manchester City.
It's tough, but I still think City are going to win.
I'll go with City win. Or you can't sit on the fence with this one. Chelsea against Arsenal. I can't bet against my team, guys.
Oh,
and I don't want to be boring and say a draw. I'm going to have to go Chelsea.
I'm actually going to go Chelsea too. But I think it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah, that one was a bit... You know what? You know when you put your team into your bet, the accumulator never seems to come in?
It doesn't,
Yeah, but anyway, Manchester City to beat Villa. We put Chelsea to beat Arsenal. Crystal Palace against Spurs. I mean, if Spurs play anything like they did at the weekend...
Oh my God.
Anything like they did at the weekend. They had 0 shots at goal and they won the game 1-0. Guys, do the maths because I'm still trying to work out how that happened. I mean, look, they have more than Palace, but I'm going to put it out there. I'm just going to go for a Palace win. They were so dreadful in Tottenham.
They were. And to be fair, they got the second worst defence this season.
There you go.
So I actually think Palace, where they are on the bottom of the table doesn't necessarily reflect their performances. Yeah. So I'm going to go Palace as well.
Palace. Okay. West Ham against Everton. Ooh.
I'm going to go Everton, I think.
Everton have got a little bit of momentum, haven't they?
Yeah, they're just starting to
They
pick
were,
up a
again,
bit.
Everton. I mean, they did it. I think it was the draw they had before the Christmas break.
Yeah.
But did you watch their game at the weekend against Villa? Villa absolutely battered them.
Battered
them. How Villa went 5-0 up before Everton got that equaliser.
But this has been the story of Villa's
season. Was
season.
Unbelievable, by the way. I mean, what a finish was it? Is it what's her name?
Beatrice. Was it?
No, the one who was at Birmingham and then went to.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
You called her first name. See,
I said first name. Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to call her Sar, and I'm like, not Sar. So her goal. I mean, but apart from that, Everton
know how to stay in a game.
Yeah, I'll give them that. I'll give them that.
I mean, that one could be a tight one, to be fair. West Ham, right? No, they're in and around that relegation.
I think West Ham could
kind of battle. So
I actually think
I don't know. I might have to retract my original opinion.
I'm going West Ham.
I'm going to go a draw.
Okay, boring.
Going to be boring.
Leicester versus Liverpool. I'm going Liverpool.
I'm going Liverpool as well. I think Olivia Smith is a lot to handle.
See her goal?
Her goal was ridiculous.
Picking the ball up in
Beautiful
her half.
goal.
The power.
And
they made a few signings as well. Sam Kerr had a good the Scottish Sam Kerr, guys. She had a good debut for Liverpool as well. Yeah, I'm going to go Liverpool. And Manchester United against Brighton. You know what? These games are always tight, United-Brighton. But Brighton have been on a bad run of games, haven't they?
They have been. I think, was it 2 losses, a draw? Yeah. They're kind of on a... they're just not firing like they were at the start of the season. I think Man United are just starting to pick up their momentum. So I'm going to go the United win.
Me too.
But also going to be an interesting game, I think.
Yeah. So, guys, my accumulator is Manchester City to beat Aston Villa, Chelsea to beat Arsenal, Crystal Palace to beat Spurs, West Ham to beat Everton, Liverpool to beat Leicester, and Man United to beat Brighton. Anita's accumulator is...
Man City to beat Villa, Chelsea to beat Arsenal, Crystal Palace to beat Spurs, West Ham and Everton to draw, Liverpool to beat Leicester, and Man United to beat Brighton.
Put your 50p's on, guys, and hopefully you'll get us a sponsor. So, Neat fans' questions. Fire us or fire them away. What are they? What
Let's
have we got this week?
Okay, so Rebecca Joy Howe. Would you have taken Miedema and Jess Park off? Wild decision from Gareth.
I mean, Jess Park wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was one of her better games. If you look back to the derby, what was it when she scored those 2 goals? Was it at Old Trafford?
Old Trafford. Yeah.
It wasn't a performance like that for Jess Park. Viv, you always know there's something in Viv, but she is returning from an injury. And I don't know whether it was something about managing her minutes potentially. And we've seen, I'd rather have Viv long term than keep her on for 90 in a game that is kind of slipped away anyway. But on a normal day, there ain't 2 subs that I'd take off.
No.
But I think given the state of the game...
one or the other?
I think given the state of the game, if any of them, you'd have probably kept Miedema on. But as I say, with the injury she's had and just returning, you don't want to overdo it in a game that's kind of slipped away anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think at that point, Gareth Taylor probably felt the game's gone. Do we need to risk her? We've got another game to come. We're going to play them again midweek. We need her available at her best. So, and Jess Park, it just wasn't her day. So,
one-off.
It's a one-off. Okay, the next one is from Mish, 1975. With the London derby looming and both Sonia and Renee unbeaten since they took charge, what do you think is going to be the difference on Sunday? Guys,
my answer to that is listen to the podcast and we talk a little bit about it. I think if Chelsea, as I said, it's quite a difficult one to guess. They're both in great form. Arsenal scoring a lot of goals. They're leaking less goals. Chelsea similarly. I actually think you probably can't predict it until you see the lineups. I think it's one of those, we don't know who's going to play. They've got a lot of players to select from. And I do think it will come down to that team selection and execution of game plan. But I do think it will be a completely different game to the one we saw at the Emirates when Arsenal were beaten.
I agree. I think both teams now, they've played more football. So naturally, they've got more confidence. You got all that rustiness out their legs and all that. It's going to be a highly competitive game, and we can't say too much in terms of what we can expect. What we can expect is world-class players to be on the pitch, fighting it out. And hopefully it's an intense one with some goals. But it will be interesting to see how they line up. It will also be interesting to me to see how both managers are from the sidelines, because we've had...
They're both quite calm though.
They are.
Presented themselves to be calm,
I feel like they've both got a bit of bite, hiding behind that calmness. So we'll see if this sort of game, this derby game, will bring some of that out.
That's a good shout. Let's get the BBC cameras in on them. Cool. Guys, thanks for listening to Boots, Balls and Borough. Remember, subscribe, like and comment, as we'd love to hear more about certain topics, players and insights you want myself and Anita, I need to call you Anita to discuss. Plus, tune in on Thursday for my next episode of Fara Meets with the absolute legend, Anita Asante. Make sure you tune into that one, guys. Neats, I thought, with the London derby coming up, Chelsea against Arsenal, why not do a little quick fire? We like this game. We did win a saison last time.
Yeah, remember? We did, yeah.
That was a good one before Christmas. But this one's going to be a quick fire. I'm going to name a goalkeeper from each team.
Yeah.
You choose which one you want.
Okay.
And then a defender, and we'll go from there. And guys, if you're a part of the Arsenal or Chelsea squad, and I don't call you out in this 11, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because I've gone with what I've gone with. Right. Hannah Hampton or Dom Seller?
Hannah Hampton.
Lucy Bronze, Emily Fox.
Lucy Bronze.
Bjorn Wubbemoy.
Bjorn.
Bright Williamson. Bright. Charles McCabe. Why are you copying me? Nuskin Caldente. Ooh.
Caldente,
yeah, I'm with you. Cuthbert Little.
Cuthbert.
Hermano or Marnham? Hermano for me.
Hermano.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Ritin Canarad or Ford? On the form that they're in, I have to go Canarad.
Canarad, yeah.
Canarad, is that? Sorry.
Sorry, that's because of my Swedish. Sorry,
yeah,
my
it's
bad.
Fine.
It's for the Swedes watching. That's why I'm like, get it right.
Sorry, my apologies, but I'm going with you anyway. Who are you going with?
Canarad, okay. Yeah.
Ramirez or Russo? You know what? I love Russo as well.
I think they're both great. This is a tough one.
It is tough. I'm going to go Russo.
You're going Russo. I'm going Russo for an all-round game.
Yeah. Guru Wrighton or Beth Mead?
Wrighton, because I just...
Guru.
Yeah,
so that's our combined Chelsea-Arsenal 11 for the weekend. It's never going to happen, guys, but it's worth having a little bit of fun with.